final trial will just put her more destitute.
I don't have any further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much. I will award the fees and the amount again when it's $8,100 and
$56.25, Your Honor.
okay, I will award those that amount to Ms. Griffin. Ms. Griffin, please provide an order for the court to sign, and we will and along with the 2 weeks. All right, very good. If there's nothing else, Ms. Griffin, Mr. Lahowski.
Well, I did want to offer oral argument, Your Honor, against the award of the fees. I know you've just made the
Just ruled. Yeah, just ruled.
Yeah.
What's the situation? I mean, they're entitled to them. I mean, there's a marriage here, right? Tell me what your situation here is, Mr. Lahowski.
Well, I've just been on the case for about a month, Your Honor, I believe, and my understanding is when she filed this motion back in February, Mr. Granger made a number of concerted efforts to provide a portion of the documents that were in dispute. And then I've thus satisfied all of those requests since I've come on the case. I mean, $8,000 seems like an awful lot for a compel hearing issue. I mean, she testified to 27 hours. And in my experience, the fees on these types of compel issues are normally reserved for final trial on the merits because there's going to be voluminous claims presented by both sides. And we have a community pot that is subject to division. And really her request today sounds more like a motion for interim fees and not necessarily just a motion for fees on a compel. And so I think this is something that should be deferred to final trial. We resolve the compel issues. We've agreed to a short deposition, and then we have the trial set, I believe, June 17th. And so that would be my request and my position.
Okay, what she's saying is that her client is financially unable to maintain this litigation with these fees hanging out there. I agree there's an interim fees element to this, but it's on a compel. And she was pretty careful to segregate those fees on the compel. Now, I understand it puts you in a difficult position because you're new on the case. Nonetheless, she has proven up the hours that she spent attempting to get these documents. And help me with this, why it's not just that.
And Judge, we did have other hearings about this matter. That's why I made it so many hours. Before Ms. Lahowski came in the case, there were previous hearings about the compel and deposition in those matters.
Tell me about those. Who heard those other matters?
Judge Arth, I believe, and my understanding was the fees were denied on those previous hearings.
No,
she was pretty careful to segregate those fees on the compel. Now, I understand it puts you in a difficult position because you're new on the case. Nonetheless, she has proven up the hours that she spent attempting to get these documents. And help me with this, why it's not just that.
And Judge, we did have other hearings about this matter. That's why I made it so many hours. Before Ms. Lahowski came in the case, there were previous hearings about the compel and deposition in those matters.
Tell me about those. Who heard those other matters?
Judge Arth, I believe, and my understanding was the fees were denied on those previous hearings.
No, that's incorrect. I didn't produce any fees in front of Judge Arth. And actually, when we had a temporary orders hearing last year in November, fees were given to our office. That was for temporary orders. I have not requested fees. I did not request fees from Judge Arth on that last hearing because the last hearing was strictly regarding an order being entered in the compel the deposition.
So, Ms. Griffin, were most of the on the compel, did most of this pertain to things that happened while Mr. Granger was the attorney or while Mr. Lahowski was the attorney?
Mr. Granger, Your Honor.
So since Mr. Lahowski has come in, I mean,
I do understand Mr. Lahowski is in a difficult situation, but my client is also, Your Honor. Like I said, he has been complying. We have been conferring and getting some things resolved, but before then we were unable to. And the compel has been going on for months. or at least the issue about these documents have been going on for months.
Well, but Your Honor, her motion that's before the court has only been on file since February. And
That's kind of a
she's
while.
talking
We're
about,
almost in June now, so
I know, but she's talking about hearings that happened prior to her filing the February motion, not hearings since that date, I don't believe. And this order for attorney's fees from Judge Arth, that was in December of 2023. And so, again, I mean, it's like she's pointing to efforts to accomplish other relief for her client in other motions that are separate and apart from the compel that she's seeking fees on.
No, I just was explaining to you, because you weren't on the case, that there weren't any fees requested at the last hearing. The last time I requested fees was back in for the temporary orders hearing. I did not request any at the last motion for continuance / enforce the deposition hearing.
So if that's the case, then how is it that she preserves her right to request fees for prior hearings when she didn't request fees at the time she went forward on the requested relief before? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Because all of it pertains to the compel of the compelling of these documents.
what type of documents are we talking about, Ms. Griffin, that you couldn't get your hands on?
Employment documents, Your Honor. More specifically, he's not paid like a regular salary. He's paid like he's in tech sales. And so his pay differs based off different deals that he does. And so we wanted a breakdown of those deals to determine the amount of money that he was paid throughout the marriage to consider what was community property. Previously, we didn't get any documents. We actually only got a screenshot of 2 lines before Mr. Lukowski came on the case. We didn't get any documents regarding his pay. We actually didn't even get his tax documents until the most last hearing. So we didn't have any detailed information on his pay.
Mm.
All we had was his base salary. His base salary is way lower than what a check stub that we had.
That's pretty basic, Mr. Lehowski. I mean, if they can't even get that, that sounds pretty basic to me. You know,
Well, and again, since I've been on the case, Your Honor, I've provided everything that they've requested. And I've worked with Ms. Griffin to try to resolve any deficiencies, because we want to try to work towards an agreement, and we want them to have all the information that they need so that we can have our best opportunity to reach an agreement. And that has been my sole focus, to try to accomplish this. And before her testimony today, I wasn't aware that she was requesting this amount in fees. I thought that we were down to a sole issue where she needed one document, which I've since provided. Mm-hmm. And now I'm being told she needs $8,000 in attorney's fees to go forward. And it seems to me there's a legitimate dispute on how much was actually incurred to achieve what she needed to go forward today versus other issues that were before the court and that were previously ruled on before I came on. And again, I think that speaks to the reason why this needs to be dealt with at the final trial, because there's going to be arguments back and forth on who's requesting what.
Well, it does sound like, I mean, I will say this in her favor, these are pretty basic things she's requesting, and she couldn't get them. I understand you weren't on the case, and that's an issue. On your side, Mr. Lehowski, if you didn't realize this was still an issue that was out there, you thought everything was done, that I think does weigh pretty heavily in your favor right there. So I'm going to go with you, Mr. Lehowski. Request for fees. Please take it up in the next hearing with the trial judge. It's coming up. It's denied. It's denied. Nope, it's denied without prejudice today. But you may bring it up with the trial judge. Mr. Lehowski, please draft an order and circulate it. All right, you may vote.
There's a request in our motion.
You're done. You're done for the day. Thank you both. You may have a wonderful rest of the day. You may be excused. Please, Mr. Lehowski, send an order to me. All right, thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you, Your Honor.